Hello, friends, and welcome to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion
inquiry
podcast
extraordinaire, where we explore the lore and story of Hildibrand and beyond.
My name is Jen, and I'm joined by my co-host and interrupter.
I'm Levi.
Hello, Levi.
Jen has risen from the dead to join us here today.
It's true. I was very sick.
Much like Hildibrand, our gentleman extraordinaire here has returned to record with us.
Inspiration. Yeah. Absolutely. I can't just be in this grave forever. No, I have cases. I have cases to solve. I have episodes
to record. Yeah. So today we are concluding the A Realm Reborn Hildibrand saga with her last vow. I said that weird.
Vow.
I said that. I don't know.
Vow,
Was that like an H in there or something? I don't know.
Wow.
Her last vow. But first though, Jen, what happened last time? Take that, Jen.
Take that indeed. Hey, Jen, go fuck yourself.
Not now, Jen. You got to recap.
Oh, fuck. Okay, so last time was the Mithril Cup garbage.
Why is it garbage?
It's a lot of stuff. We hear of a big fat tournament at the Coliseum called the Mithril Cup, and one of the guys from the Mineral Concern, right? Puts up some of his treasures.
The guy from the Mineral Concern. Yes.
Puts up some shit as a prize, and of course the thief is going to be after that shit. So we go to check it out, and we meet the head dude. We also meet his secretary of sorts, which is an octopus. His name is Ultros, and he's super, super shady. And then we also meet one of the contenders named Avila, some super rad Alamegan gladiator woman. And we decide she's up to no good, and we follow her around. And we decide that she's actually, her motivations are very pure, but there's something going on. And we figure out that her and Ultros must be in cahoots. And then Ultros is also like being real shady with like hiding this thing in his office. And we are also joining the big melee along with Hildibrand, along with Briardian and Avila, the gladiator person.
Briardian isn't fighting.
Briardian's in the ring.
He's on the balcony.
At one point, isn't he in the
ring?
No, that's right. We're fighting on his behalf. That's right. Okay. So the melee starts, and then the scam between Avila and Ultros is revealed. Ultros was using the Mr. Typhon to sneeze and be powerful and win the thing for Avila, and they were going to split the winning, blah, blah. That didn't work out. So Avila is disqualified, and Ultros was like, hey, why don't we do like some other special bout between the three remaining competitors? And Dower Meadow's like, yeah, totally. So we do that shit in Halatali. We win, of course. There's a little trial involved, but we win. We go back to the Coliseum to get the prize. The ring is there on the table, and then all of a sudden the thief shows up. There's some sneezing involved. The ring is flung into the air, and there's lots of stuff in the air. The ring is a fake, but the thief has also gotten the key to the vault, which means he stole what was going to be the second prize. The thief leaves a big fat card saying that he's gonna steal some other thing.
Nice.
Then it was revealed that the thief was actually after the four Beladian relics, and Godbert had to school us all on what the fuck that meant. It was basically a legend from centuries past, and the thief was apparently trying to get all the stuff. But to what end, we didn't know. But Ultros, we don't, he just sleazed off into the sunset.
Oh my God.
We don't even know.
Pick up the piece of shit.
I mean, that's what I said. It's like it's garbage. It's not garbage. It was a lot. And that's been the whole theme of this entire Hildibrand exercise was
exercise.
Levi was like, we're gonna do Hildy stuff now. We're just gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it zoomed out.
All right, let's get recorded.
Well, no. People need to know. Okay, we're gonna keep it zoomed out. We're gonna kind of breeze through it, because if you get down into the minutia of it, it's gonna be but that's where all this shit is. It's in the minutia, and so these episodes have been so much more involved than we thought. But you have to say you got to talk about all the things.
Thank you, Jen, for the recap and for the recap of your rant from last time too, Jen.
Did I do that too?
Yes. Yes, you did.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Fucking leave it in. I feel very strongly.
Yes, you do.
God damn.
So we pick up once again with Ellie in Ul'dah. She tells us now that the Phantom Thief has branched out from burglary to murder. 3 influential Uldans have already been killed. And the thief has left one of his signature calling cards at each scene with the note. The weight of 5 corpses will bring the scales of justice to balance. All of these murders have Ellie's readers clamoring for more, and we are going to deliver. So for the scoop on Ul'dah's streets, we're going to go and see our longtime associate, Wymond. However, he unfortunately does not know what treasure the thief could be aiming for next, but he does know that the Sultansworn have assembled their very best to defend against the thief. As we know, the best of the Sultansworn are the worst of everyone.
As we will soon find out.
Actually, they do a good job in this one, all things considered, I think.
Yeah, I had a lot of faith in What's-Her-Face. We haven't met her yet.
Yes, in What's-Her-Face. So we head for the Sultansworn headquarters to learn more.
Before Ellie runs off, though, Wymond cautions her. He says he's been around long enough to know when shit is, bad. And he's like, stuff is bad. The Sultansworn being as riled up as they are right now, it's not great. So just, be cautious. And she's like, whatever. I'm fine. Bring it on. I have to do my journalistic duty to bring the truth to the people. So I'm going after the truth. So we head off to the Heart of the Sworn, which is their headquarters. And who do we see standing out in front of their doors but our old pal Humphrey? Yeah, so if you have forgotten who Humphrey is, back in Hildibrand 2.1, we meet him in the Golden Bazaar, and he's like, yeah, I'm a warrior of light, and I totally dueled with the dueling, traveling dueler, or whatever the fuck he was called. But the truth of the matter was, he lost another dude's family heirloom sword, lied about it, and now this dude's bald, and Humphrey is ashamed, but now he's a Sultansworn.
Yeah, it's okay, Jen, because the Gentleman of Light has moved him to put aside his mercenary practices and to serve the realm. He is filled with conviction from seeing Hildibrand's brilliant reawakening. And the Sultansworn were so impressed by his motivation that they welcomed him in.
His commitment to do-good was very convincing to them. And I'm not saying that he's lying, but, what a change.
Humphrey is happy to assist us. He introduces us to Phyllis, who is a gray-green-haired healer who is leading the Sultansworn's investigation into the thief.
You pronounce it Phyllis. That's interesting.
How do you pronounce it, Jen?
Felice.
That sounds more fantasy-like. I like Felice more than Phyllis. I agree. That's probably like a fantasyization of
Yeah,
a name.
I didn't even consider Phyllis. Because the phonetics of it, it's going to be Felice. Because
how about
we're not going to do her dirty and call her
Phil Ice.
Phil Ice.
That's how it's spelled.
No, it's spelled Phil Lice. That's how it's spelled.
Okay, there we go. Agreed.
Felice.
So we are here with Phil Ice.
Oh my god. So Felice is okay. So her face model, her head model, whatever. This is unlike any sort of hero we've ever seen, right? This is not something that you can choose in character creation. Her face is so unique.
I couldn't tell you.
I saw a close up of her face, and I'm like, with that, she looks like she's got huge eyes. She has Viera face, but it's not a Viera face. It's really unique. Anyway, that struck me. But she's the head of the Sultansworn. Investigation
into this thing.
Right.
Not the Sultansworn as a whole.
So she's the head of this whole thing because, she's a history buff and her superiors are like, boom, you're it. What they're doing is they're guarding the vaults in Ul'dah because we know the thief is after the quote-unquote hidden treasure of Ul'dah. And there are a ton of different treasures. that could all be considered the hidden treasure of Adal. So they're all put in these vaults, and the Sultan Sworn are guarding them night and day.
Felice has been secretly hoping that we would show up along with our companions because she is an avid reader of the Mithril Eye herself. And on cue, one of these companions makes his entrance. It's insinuating Inspector Briardian. He gets right to business. He tells us to stay put and blows a handful of something into our faces, ours and Ellie's. After we cough it out, Ellie asks, "What was that?" The answer is demasking dust, the inspector's formula to see through the phantom thief's disguises. He devised it after analyzing the mask that he found left behind by the thief in Vesper Bay. So Ellie's overjoyed. We can now at last unmask the thief, but not so fast, warns Felice. The ingredients that produce this dust are exceedingly rare. We only have a small supply available. So now Ellie wonders, do you know what the thief is actually after? Not quite, says Felice. The only mention of these 4 relics of Belladia is in an old prophecy considered to be a fairy tale. When darkness falls and hope fades to despair, 4 warriors born of light shall descend in righteous glare. These warriors of light were born heroes, each wielding a sacred artifact, but what exactly she doesn't know.
In any case, any Belladian relics have been secured in the vaults, and the Sworn's finest are attending them. All have been given a supply of the demasking dust. So then the discussion turns to the murders. Felice's team are focused on protecting the vaults, and they haven't been able to put much into investigating the actual murder case.
The Sultan Sworn have no personnel available to investigate these murders, so she would be most grateful if we would assist her in investigating the matter. Someone responds. A lady asks, and a gentleman answers. Answering her call is, of course, Hildibrand. He strides down the steps right in front of Felice and into Briardian, who gives him a face full of demasking dust. His identity is confirmed, much to Briardian's dismay, and Felice welcomes his aid and catches him up. The killer has claimed 3 victims so far, the head of a publishing consortium, a high-ranking government official, and an influential scholar. Besides their high status, there seems to be no common thread between these victims. And the murderer plots 2 more deaths. 5 bodies tip the scales, blah, blah, blah. So Hildibrand is now on the case, and Felice gives him a sachet of demasking dust, all she can spare.
Well, Hildy's glad to see us again, and he's like, I'm very, very glad to have your help. However, the position of assistant has been filled, but what you can be is my ever-loyal associate. Huzzah. He suggests that we go to the most recent crime scene near the 80 Sins of Sasimo, which is out the Western Gate. And we arrive at the scene.
The 80 Sins are the 80 steps that lead to Ul'dah's Western Gate. The 80 Sins of Sasimo are named after Princess Sasimo, who was a former member of the Sultanate, but she tried to overthrow her older siblings who are closer to inheriting the throne. However, her conspiracy was unmasked, and as punishment, she was not executed, but instead, she was consigned to the fate of ascending and descending the 80 steps outside of this gate 80 times a day for 80 days. It is said that she completed her sentence, but upon the last step, she perished.
Good Lord. That's brutal.
Yeah, so don't plot to overthrow your siblings, Jen.
Sure, yeah.
Let that be a lesson to you.
God, that's dark. Fuck.
But on now to a more recent death on these steps.
So we arrive at the scene, and there are 3 lilies placed on the ground where the body was found. Hildy surmises that the thief is actually a florist and misplaced their wares at the scene. This prompts a nearby haggard hag, actual name, to yell at him, She put those flowers there to honor her boy's memory. And this is the scholar's mother. Hildy apologizes, of course, like a gentleman, and tells her he will bring her son's murderer to justice. And all of a sudden, she becomes really panicked. And she's telling us to run away before he turns us all into zombies, just like he did to her son. And Briardienne is like, what? And the woman continues, have you not heard of the horrors of Sildee?
I have, Jen. Sildee is Uldah's sibling nation, between which a war was waged centuries ago. Sildee alchemists are said to have devised the Trader's Spurn, an alchemical draft that turned the living to undead. And they used this draft on the poor boy, on this poor scholar, and then they ran him through. So the murderer not only zombified this hag's son, but then they killed the zombified son. The Sultan Sworn, though, won't admit this happened. They just whisked away this body without a single word, and now this mother has no child and no body with which to mourn.
She is convinced that the perpetrator is Sildian. And she, again, kind of loses her mind here a bit. She starts cackling at the notion of the Sildian Empire dying off 4 centuries before, because the Phantom Thief is an actual phantom. He's back to wreak vengeance. Witchy laughter and stuff.
She heard the tales of the 4 relics of Belladia from her great-great-grandmother and heard of their powers to exact justice. But have the 4 warriors of light forsaken us? She admonishes her dead son for having poked his nose into history books and the subject of Sildee, and then she breaks into wild laughter and runs off.
Yeah, it's weird. People handle grief in different ways.
The camera now cuts to elsewhere in Western Thanalan.
Meanwhile, somewhere in Horizon, our friend Eleazar, our bald dude, was bald, then not bald, but he's bald again. He's out looking for that bleeding whoreson who gave him a defective hair tonic. His hair returned, sure, but only for a fortnight, and he was in the middle of talking up a beautiful lass when it all fell out and embarrassed him. So he is out for his own vengeance. And
that's the foreground action, Jen.
Right. And in the background, we see a lone Lala in a pink tunic and a straw hat, also kind of scanning the landscape. Okay. Weird. No idea.
Back with the inspector team, Hildibrand is all in on this haggard hag's story. He is convinced that the Phantom Thief is a wayward spirit trapped between the realms of life and death for centuries. We must find what troubles this poor soul and put them to rest. So off we go now to the Thaumaturge's Guild. The tomes there will surely contain a wealth of knowledge of this ancient conflict. Briardienne thinks that Hildibrand is full of it, as usual, but he does admit, though, that there may be some use in finding knowledge of Sildee. So he says, yes, Hildibrand, please do research Sildee and take as much time as you need. Please.
Get out of my hair.
And he asks us to go with him and to keep him busy.
Okay.
So we do. We question the thaumaturges at the guild, and we get a recap on Uldan history.
This is actually really enlightening. I don't think we get this information anywhere else in the game, really.
Not in the game, no.
Or at least, well, maybe not until
the Endwalker variant dungeon.
Yep.
Possibly,
yeah.
Anyway, Belladia was founded after the 6th Umbral Calamity by mages who were fleeing from persecution. People blamed them, somewhat justifiably, for the War of the Magi that culminated in the 6th Calamity. Belladia would later fracture into the sister cities of Ul'dah and Sildee. The cause of this fracture was the twin sons born to the Sultan of Belladia. Each son laid claim to the kingdom, and when they could not agree, they split the kingdom in 2. These 2 kingdoms warred over many things: water, resources, and familial grudges. The story that we hear at the guild is that the war culminated in Sildee devising an alchemical concoction to turn their fallen soldiers into undead. though it is said they also used this concoction on any living who were unwilling or unable to fight. And the Thaumaturgy Guild's people exclaim that it's a miracle that Ul'dah was able to defeat such a terrible force. But the guildmaster, the Thaumaturge's guildmaster, Kokobuki, gives us some coy talk. Who writes the histories, do you think? Such as the chronicle of the war with Sildi. For instance, Jin, did you know that the Uldans fought side by side with the Amalja in this war? In the history books read by the populace, there is no mention of this Ul'dah and Amalja alliance. It's almost as though the truth may prove inconvenient. I'm sure there's nothing more to that conversation, so we leave and we regroup with Hildibrand after.
All right, so with this new information, Hildy has tweaked his theory a bit. So now the Phantom Thief is a descendant of a doomed Sildian who seeks vengeance against those who turned their countrymen into zombies. And we must find the Sildian statesman who devised that strategy and have them apologize to our thief in person to make amends, to let we all move on. And Briardian arrives just then to hear the tail end of his theory, and he's like, will you be digging the man out of his grave yourself? Or... okay. Though it does seem likely, he concedes, that our thief does have ties to Sildi, as indicated by his garb, meant to evoke the silver scales of the fallen sultanate. Because when Kokobuki was explaining the history to us, he starts out talking about the two scales, one of gold representing Ul'dah, and one of silver representing Sildi. Ul'dah with power and prosperity, and Sildi with power and knowledge. I still think he looks like an acrobat, but that's fine. This connection also explains their rare knowledge of the Belidian relics. All of this checks out. The mystery is unfolding before us. But what of those murdered? What connection do they have to all of this? And Ellie says that as she was asking around, doing her reporter stuff, she says that a man was seen asking about the victims in the days after their murder. And witnesses claimed the man had a quote-unquote frightened air about him. The man's name is Guguria, and he's a trader who frequents Horizon. So he's an easy find. We should definitely go talk to this guy.
And we do. We head to Horizon, and we find Guguria, who is a normal-looking merchant Lalafell. He is a little bit alarmed by our very large crowd of investigators and associates and assistants. Ellie starts off by playing it cool. However, Hildibrand jumps in and immediately accuses Guguria of being a murderer and a thief. The merchant is offended and tries to make an exit, as he has an important client waiting. But someone recognizes us. It's Lady Dorilda, the collector. She wonders what business we have with her associate, and she asks him to tell her friend, the inspector, whatever it is he wants. The handsome inspector, that is. Not the other one. The merchant starts to protest, wanting to handle their actual business, but Dorilda says she wants the prize piece from Eshtem's latest seasonal collection for her daughter Maria's name day. You will be able to procure it, won't you? Or does Dorilda have to go to Ul'dah herself? But she says, please just help the inspector first. He helped her recover something far more valuable than any trinket. She means her relationship with her daughter.
Yeah. La la la. So, okay, right. Guguria, seeing kind of the state of the situation, he says, yes, I was looking into the killings on behalf of a client of mine, and the thief has some of the traitor's spurn. The 5 victims relate to the 5 arbiters of truth. Capital A, capital T. Briardian is not familiar with the term. And Guguria says, well, you wouldn't be. They're basically a secret society. They are working to keep false knowledge of the Ul'dah-Sildi conflict away from the public. And Briardian asks, well, what sort of false knowledge? And Guguria refuses to elaborate at this time. The man who hired him, however...
This is I'm going to be in trouble if I say anything more. He can't say anything. He's got a family to feed.
Yeah, we're pressing him, and he's like, guys, I can't. We're getting into really dangerous territory with these questions. But we press him enough, apparently, and he reveals his client's name. And this is a man named Hob. He left for Limsa with a few sellswords for protection. After hearing what happened to the other three, Hob felt that he was next. So, now we need to look for this guy and make sure he doesn't get dead.
Yeah, he has a private airship waiting for him at Vesper Bay. There are far too many eyes at the Uldan airship dock. We now race for Vesper Bay, but we're too late. In the tunnel leading to the town, we see a person standing over a prone body. Ellie approaches, asking if everything is okay, but Briardian yells at her to stay back. The figure who is standing turns, revealing a pallid face. It's Hob. He's been zombified. He hungers for our brains. Briardian knows it's too late for Hob, so he tells us to do our thing and to slay the zombie.
Yeah, we kill him again.
Ellie checks the body afterwards. It has a calling card that reads, "And then there was one." In the distance, a shadowy figure watches us, and then turns and walks away. Hildibrand comments upon a strange feeling of being watched, ever since we picked up the case, in fact.
Yeah, he's like, ever since we've picked up the trail of the thief, there's just constant feeling of being watched. And we're all feeling that. And Ellie thinks that the thief may still be close. We should be careful, of course. She wants to head back to the Mithril Eye offices, but Briardian says absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Then Nashu volunteers to escort Ellie back, and Briardian says, Ellie, when this is all over, I have something to tell you, but you must promise not to do anything rash. So off Nashu and Ellie go, and we return to Scholar's Walk and tell Felice about the recent happenings, and she is horrified to know the Arbiters of Truth are being targeted. So one, Felice knows about the Arbiters of Truth, which is surprising. But before we can get into that, we hear Ellie scream for help down the hall. And it came from the direction of the vault. And off we go. Shit. We find Ellie on the floor next to a fallen Sultan Sword.
There's also a bottle laying on the ground.
It's the fucking driftwood all over again. So it's a bottle of mead on the ground for some reason.
Jen, this was the weapon that they assume Ellie used to defend herself.
Right, because she just walks around with a bottle of mead. Oh, bottle of mead, Ellie.
When you're on duty, Jen, sometimes you gotta drink. It may have been the Sultan Sworn's bottle of mead. I don't think that they have mead as like the Uldan drink. It's probably wine. I think mead's more like Gridanian.
Yeah, mead's definitely more Gridanian. I don't know why. It just is.
One for the honey. They got a lot of bees there.
But it's super expensive. But they do have bees there.
They have a whole bee zone in the Hawthorne hut.
They do have the bee zone.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a bottle on the ground. We assume that Ellie used the bottle to defend herself against the fallen Sultan Sworn.
She was like, I was going to ask him a few questions, and he attacked me. And so she knocked him out. Nashu ran off to follow a figure in the shadows, so she's all alone. And Felice checks the man and
the fallen guard,
and it's like, I don't know this guy. He is not familiar at all. Even he's dressed as a Sultan Sworn, but I don't know this face. So she's like, demasking dust. Poof. It's the thief. It's our thief. It's our face. It's our acrobat.
It's our face.
Oh, shit. And Hildy is like, congratulations! Case closed, job well done. Woo!
Case closed by virtue of a gentleman's ingenious deductions and a lady's pugilistic puissance.
Yeah. Dude, we did it.
So he's gonna say, good job, and here is our unused sachet of unmasking dust. And he gives it back to Felice, but he trips over the fallen bottle, and the sachet goes flying through the air and lands on the phantom thief's unconscious head, expelling all of the dust in the pouch upon the head. And poof, once again, the face transforms for a second time. The guard, first unmasked as a phantom thief, or as the phantom thief, is now unmasked again as a generic red-haired dude.
I hiccuped at the end of my gasp just then.
Congrats.
So when you're listening to that, when you're editing it, and it sounds weird, that's what happened.
It sounded very genuine, actually, Jen. It sounded like you were severely surprised.
I'm so surprised I hiccuped.
So Felice says this guy is her guard. He's one of her most capable men who had plenty of dust on his person. So how did someone get the jump on him? You know, how did the thief ambush him and take him out and then give him like 2 masks?
Damn.
Because he's so good.
Damn.
And he has dust.
Yeah, that's like, well, Hildy.
He's got a brainwave.
He's got a brainwave. And he's like, what if the thief weren't wearing a mask? And he looks around. He's like, hey, has anybody seen Ellie? Briardienne is disturbed and says, I don't think he says, does he say? But he's just, there's no way. There's no way.
But yes, because Hildy realizes that Ellie is the thief's accomplice. Clearly, she could not bear to let him be captured and put a stop to all the readership that he was generating. So she teamed up with the thief to take down her pursuers.
Nailed it once again. Yeah. Felice demands Humphrey check the vault. And he comes back and the wise man's whisper has been stolen. Felice declares Ellie an enemy of the state and commands that she be placed in custody.
She orders that all of her troops be deployed. Every single one to pursue Ellie.
Yeah, there's a bolo going out.
But a figure lurking in the shadows is watching all this unfold. They whisper, and now the game is truly afoot. And another figure lurks upon this figure. We see a pointed spear tip lean out from behind a pillar, followed by Gilgamesh's face and Enkidu. He grumbles, "What is the meaning of all this racket?" And just as we are about to make our triumphant return,
there's always like someone lurking around a corner and then someone lurking around another corner, looking at the person lurking around the corner.
Or just this once.
No, it happened before. Remember with Ultros when we were spying on Avila, and Ultros was spying on us.
You're right. So it happened 2 times.
It's
so it'd have 2 nickels.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Correct. Out in the streets, meanwhile, Nashu is looking around, calling out for Miss Ellie. She thinks that the errant shadow that Ellie saw was just a mouse. But another Nashu sneaks up on this Nashu and knocks her out.
Oh, shit. I mean, you know what? If you touch Nashu, we're going to have a problem. Okay? I'm going to throw hands.
Jen's a Nashu stan.
Absolutely. She's fucking adorable.
But Jen, you got 2 Nashus now.
Yay, more to love. Oh my god. It's like Christmas.
Back in the Sultan Sworn halls, Hildibrand wonders why Felice isn't aiding her men in the search. And she answers, that would only put them in further danger. You see, the final target of the thief, the 5th arbiter of truth, is... Hildibrand sees where this is going. He stammers, Hildibrand Mander? It's Felice. She's the 5th arbiter.
It's oh shit, it's Hildibrand Manderville? It's like, no, it's me.
She is not an arbiter by choice. She was appointed by an anonymous letter. This same letter listed her duties to prevent the spread of historical lies that would sully the name of Ul'dah. She cannot, though, put any more lives in danger, so she will sequester herself away until the killer is apprehended.
Hildy says that there's no need for that. We will protect her. Speaking of we, has anyone seen Nashu? Oh, Nashu appears then. Oh, she explains her absence. I was chasing a mouse and, blah, blah, blah. Hildy stops. He's got it again, that sense that somebody's watching. He asks that we all split up and search the area. So now we're running around the Chamber of Rule, trying to find, this thing that's watching Hildy. We find a water-stained letter It says, "Be wary and be warned." And we're like, okay, cool. We run around some more. We find a second water-stained letter. "Trust no one, and your friends all the less." We run around some more and we find a third.
This is all in caps, by the way.
They're screaming at us. No punctuation, all caps. "This will avail you well. Use it wisely. And it's a thing of damasking dust." Ooh, shit.
Is it a sachet of damasking dust?
It's a sachet.
So we retrieve the dust and we sense someone else behind us. It's Godbert, wearing clothes this time.
Yeah, you know, some clothes. Yeah.
He says that he was doing business in the city when he too sensed a suspicious presence. We explain what we found, and Godbert wonders if our mysterious stalker is a friend. Regardless, though, this case may be over Hildibrand's head, so Godbert's going to step in and assist. Also, if anything were to happen to him, his mother would not be pleased.
It's like, his dear mother will not be pleased.
We return back to the crew. The pink-shirted straw hat Lalafell is behind a column just a few steps away from the main group.
What are they doing here?
They're standing behind a column, Jen.
They're chilling here, of all places to chill.
If we talk to this, quote, beheaded sprat, he remarks, something just isn't right.
Yeah. He looks like straight out of the Botanist Guild. Like, what is he doing here?
Well, Jen, the beheaded sprat, or as you call him, the beshatted sprat.
Just shattered sprat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. My bad. My bad, Jen. Mm-hmm. He is here looking at something, and that thing he's looking at doesn't seem quite right to him.
Okay.
This will pay off for you, Jen, in like 2 years IRL.
4, apparently.
4? What?
You said Stormblood, right?
I didn't say Stormblood.
You said
Stormblood.
Stormblood.
Someone in the Discord said Stormblood, Jen.
Somebody in the Discord said Stormblood. Yeah, so that's 4 years.
Okay, whatever.
All right, so, well, per the letters, the killer may now be in our midst. Like, this small group that's gathered here in the Chamber of Rule, it's one of us. And we only have one use of the damasking dust left. And we must determine the imposter beyond a shadow of a doubt before we use it. And Godbert asks us to speak with each person and see if anything suspicious pops up. So we're like all kind of standing in a circle, you know, as you do. It's Godbert, Briardian, us, Nashu, Hildy.
Felice.
Oh, Felice is there? No, she's gone.
Oh, she? Okay, whatever.
She's deaf gone.
Deaf gone. So as we're talking about this need to find our hidden traitor, Nashu, who we know is the imposter because she knocked out the real one, she has some internal monologue. She is alarmed. She feels the net closing in. She needs to find a way out before suspicion turns to her. And in this internal monologue, they vow vengeance upon us, promising to turn us all into zombies. But Hildibrand takes control of the situation. He will determine who the thief is. It wouldn't be Godbert.
Oh, also, Felice is here. She is still hanging out.
Okay.
It was like right after she was like, I have to sequester myself. That's when Hildy was like, I sense a thing. And we go searching around. So she's still here.
Okay. Anyway, so Hildibrand says it would not be Godbert because the thief has not had time to observe his mannerisms. So he would not be a good target for the thief to imitate. So now he turns to Nashu as his next person to cross off the list. None know Nashu better than Hildibrand does. Why? They're almost of two minds. So first off, he will test his assistant. The test is he will sing the Manorville song and see if Nashu can fill in the correct verse. He begins. I'm a Manderville.
Man!
Doing what only a Manderville
can.
From the peaks of Kurthis to Thanalan, I'm a Manderville.
Man! Oh my god, you're amazing, Inspector!
Thanks, Jen.
Hildy is... That's proof enough. This is absolutely the real Nashu. And the fake Nashu, in relief, turns around and like has like a moment like, oh, thank God. And Hildy asks, well, what's the matter? I mean, despite the new wrinkles under your eyes, that's no reason to hide your face. And the mask drops, so to speak. And she's like, wrinkles! And she cusses him out a little bit before she's like, oh, shit. Oh, it's kind of funny what she says. She's like, your whole body's going to be wrinkled by the time I'm done with you, you crusty fuckface.
Direct quote.
Brilliant Inspector. That's it. The charade is up, Miss Ellie. And we throw the dust at her, and a young, here woman with long lavender hair is revealed. Miss Ellie looks different, says Hildy. Yes, she does. She is different from Ellie. The woman is Ellie's sister and partner in crime. Ceci?
1,000 faces does she bear, but one name. You may call her Cece. She and Ellie are the last living scions of the Sildian aristocracy. Cece has been the thief all along, while Ellie hid in plain sight, gathering information. Hildibrand asks, what does she hope to gain from these schemes? The answer is justice. 400 years ago, Ul'dah reduced Sildi to a nation of zombies. She will return the favor to the cowards that justify these deeds. Briardian is confused. Didn't Sildi do the zombie turning? But no, the histories lie, and the arbiters work from the shadows to perpetuate these lies. The powder that is possessed by Cece was stolen from the Ul'dah army by one of her ancestors, his final act of courage before turning into a zombie himself. But Sildi will have the last laugh. A vast quantity of the traitor's spurn was hidden away in a secret vault at the end of the war. This vault can only be opened with the 4 Beladian relics. Even as we speak, Ellie makes for this vault with the relics in hand. But the first one to turn will be you, Felice. Cece hurls a handful of powder at Felice, but Hildibrand dives in the way, taking a faceful of powder. He collapses on the ground, flesh already pale.
Blue. Literally blue. Or green. Greenish blue. Zombie colors.
Thank you, Jen.
Yes.
For the zombie report.
Yeah. I mean, he was pale before. He's far less pale now because he's blue and green.
Great. Thank you.
Just then, as Hildy collapses on the ground, zombied, a dark figure emerges. Godbert immediately senses their presence, and the figure yells, Godbert Manderville! I can't even trust your sorry arse to look after him for a day! And they rush the group, their disguise falling away, revealing the woman we saw outside the Colosseum with the curl-skin boots and the frying pan.
Yeah, Jen.
The woman smacks Cece in the head with the pan.
This woman is moving at hyperspeed. She's moving faster than we can perceive.
This is horrifying. We're all horrified. Godbert just then realizes the shadowy figure following him around this whole time, the thing that was giving him and Hildy the heebie-jeebies this whole time, was his fucking wife. Well, his dear wife. And his gaze slowly, painfully, regretfully turns upward to see her bearing down on him from above, pan raised, and the pan claims another victim in Godbert. Kablam. Now Godbert and Son are both laid low on the ground.
And Cece.
There's bodies everywhere. Let the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah. But we are also being spied on by Gilgamesh. He foolishly chooses this time to reveal himself. This commotion has his blood up. He's spoiling for a fight. He steps forth, challenging us to a duel, our final confrontation. His music kicks in. He races towards us, halberd at the ready. But the woman, who now gets the nameplate Julian, she smacks him with her skillet, sending him headfirst into the wall.
She's got hella Cockney accent. I can just hear it. Do you have popitos for brains, you overstuffed buffoon? My beloved boy, this is so hard. My beloved boy has been turned into a stinking corpse if you hadn't bloody noticed. Now I'm Scottish.
Yeah. Fine, close enough.
So hard.
She now turns her gaze to us, to our character. We blanch, fearing the worst. But she smiles at us pleasantly. Hildy has told her all about us and our hijinks together. She's pleased to meet us. She thought that she'd sit back and let her husband handle things, but look where it's got them. But our character will help her, though, won't we? We give her a panicked nod.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at her boy. He's green. She knows the remedy, though. Holy water made from oversoul rags and twice distilled water. We can find the ingredients in the market. Briardian now leaves to look for Nashu, and Gilgamesh has freed himself from the wall, and he comes to join us. He remarks upon Hildibrand's poor state. No thanks to you, snaps Julian. He's going to also help us with this errand, or she will reintroduce him to the wall.
We know we can get one of the ingredients, the oversoul tatter, from St. Goat Sundries. Hey, our man with the truffles. However, when we ask him, 1 oversoul tatter, please, he says it has been spoken for. And Greg pleads with him. If there's a man's life on the line here, dude. And St. Goat's like, I'm sorry, man. I've got a business to run. I've got mouths to feed. However, the person I have promised this to has promised me a copious amount of chimera membrane. If you can match that, then I will give it to you. So, well, I mean, like, cool, but where the fuck are we supposed to get a bunch of chimera membrane at a moment's notice? Like, it's not happening. Well, just then, who should show up but Avila and her sister Hegelina. And Avila just returned from her training, and where her task was killing 10 chimeras. So, you know what? She's happy to give us the spoils. After all, if it weren't for us, she'd still be tied to that sleaze Ultros and destroying her career and her future. So, we are welcome to them. Like, fucking amazing! These relationships are paying off, man! So the next ingredient for the holy water can be purchased from a trader named Guest. This one isn't so easy. We find Guest hanging out in the Chamber of Rule. Apparently there's a big ball going on up here, and so he's there to, like, scope things out. Whatever. Sell stuff. I don't know. Guest has a huge chip on his shoulder for the Vanderbilt family, just in general. They're beyond rich, yet they insist on haggling his prices down every single time. And if the entire family died, he'd be a happier and wealthier man. So while we're standing there talking to him, we overhear a conversation nearby, or rather the desperate pleadings of a familiar voice. It's Vaughn's. And
Vaughn's is the suitor.
Or the wannabe suitor.
Groomed to be, like betrothed to be.
Right. Well, former betrothed.
Yeah.
But it's
anyway.
Complicated. He's standing there confessing his boundless love for Arabella. Like, I will do anything, blah, blah, blah. Don't listen to my father. He was mad, and, all that stuff. Lewinhart's there, too. So Arabella, she turns and she sees us, and she's like, oh my God, hi. She asks if we're there for the ball, and we're like, well, no. But we tell her about, the inspector and how he's been turned into a zombie, and we're trying to get this holy water, and this guy Guest won't sell us his shit, and it's bullshit. So Guest decides that's the appropriate moment to tell Arabella that she should lose the losers, dance with a man of culture, get with the alpha male. She readily agrees.
Guest with the alpha male.
Wow. You know what? He should put that on his fucking Twitter or something. Or rather, Truth Social account. So she readily agrees because she's a lady. She's like, absolutely, it would be my pleasure, sir. If you would be so kind as to provide us with the twice distilled water that we have requested, I would be happy to dance with you. And reluctantly, he's like, fine. Greg is watching all this go down. Like, look at, we've formed all of these relationships, and suddenly all this stuff is working out. Everybody's showing up for Hildy, right? And Greg is moved. The number of people who legitimately care for Hildibrand. Clearly, the realm would deeply mourn his loss. We must hurry back and save him.
And we do. We head back with the water and with the rags to Julian, who whips up the holy water in her skillet and administers it to Hildibrand. She says, done. That should stop its spread, but now it's up to Hildy to flush out the damage the spurn has done to his system. Just then, Briardian returns with Nashu, the real Nashu. He found her sleeping in a trash pile in Pearl Lane.
Classic cat behavior.
Briardian warns us that Ellie has been seen in the Sildian ruins. So Julian says she'll take care of the boy, her boy from here on. So go. What are we waiting for? The future of Ul'dah is at stake. So we rush off, and Gilgamesh moves to follow us. But Julian says not so fast. He reminds her of Godbert, having more muscles than brains. So why not make himself useful by going to get some fire crystals from the market to keep her boy warm? Greg starts to protest, but he thinks better of it, and he heads off to the market.
She asks for 20 crates of crystals.
We flash forward to Gilgamesh having assembled several crates of crystals. He talks to the green chicken Enkidu, who is perched upon the pile. Worry not. This is the burden we must bear to secure the long-awaited confrontation with the Warrior of Light. Both they and Hildibrand, blessed with legions of friends. But alas, Gilgamesh has lost his one true friend, the only one he has ever known. Enkidu squawks at him indignantly. Greg comforts the chicken. You are a fine bird, but you will never be Enkidu. Oh, my friend, were you here with me? Even the Warrior of Light could not stand against our might. He cries to the heavens, Enkidu, hear my words and return to my side. Enkidu! There is a flash, and the load of crystals is gone. Someone speaks to Gilgamesh. Fancy meeting you here, old friend. Meanwhile, we race to the Sildian excavation site. We learn that the Sultansworn have located Ellie, but they dare not approach. She sits upon a crate that is presumably loaded full of the trader's spurn. Felice asks us to appeal to our time with Ellie to try to talk her down. So we approach.
She turns to look at us and says, I suggest you leave this place while you still can. I bear you no grudge. But should you so much as think of interfering, I'll not hesitate to turn you into a zombie too.
By the way, Ellie is decked out with all these stolen relics.
She's sitting on the crates. The relics are piled around her.
Well, she's wearing them. She's got the earrings on, the necklace on, sword at her hip, and then the ring on her finger.
Damn.
Yeah.
So it was her all along, says Briardian. And his disappointment is very noticeable. He tells Ellie that Cece is already in custody, and she should surrender. Ellie gets off the crates and walks towards us a bit, and kind of yells at him. How could he understand? Someone born into a life of wealth and power could never understand. She and Cece have no family, friends, or fortune. They promised each other long ago that the mission will always come first, even above their own lives. Right now, she has nothing to lose. Briardian pleads with her to stop, but no. Ellie signals something and a score of zombies emerge and surround us.
These zombies are wearing ancient armor. They are clearly from ages past. They amble towards us and Briardian despairs. But Godbert is not fazed. All in a day's work for a Manderville man. He whips out his goldsmith's hammer and in a flash, his clothes vanish. He begins to lay waste to the encroaching horde. Meanwhile, Gilgamesh intervenes against a horde of zombies that are pursuing Nashu. He cuts them all down in a single stroke of his halberd. Nashu claps for him as Gilgamesh gazes towards the heavens with an open smile, exulting in the battle. Ellie cries out, we are only delaying the inevitable. We wouldn't have made it this far without Hildibrand's good fortune, and he's as good as dead. But Greg is not convinced. Be forewarned, I speak from experience when I say, underestimate Hildy at your own peril. The horde of ancient zombies is unrelenting. Reinforcements for them arrive, and Ellie orders them forward to attack. But they do not. She turns around, and the zombies are flexing. She falls over, stunned. Up on a hilltop, illuminated by the setting sun, are 4 flexing figures. It's Hildibrand and 3 of the gentle dead men. The Sultan-sworn Humphrey sees this from a safe distance and recites, "When darkness falls and hope fades to despair, 4 warriors born of light shall descend in the righteous glare." No, they are not warriors of light. They are 4 gentlemen of light. The glare from the hilltop shines brighter. Ellie recoils from the light, and the camera cuts to the hilltop, and we see that the rearmost gentleman is the brilliantly bald Eleazar. The shining light was the sun reflecting off his perfectly bald head. Ellie is incensed. There's no way that some holy water could have cured the traitor's spurn. Just so, says one of the gentle dead men, but their overlord Zomberbrand spent quite some time building up an immunity to zombie powder. Briardian is over all of this shit. He says there's no way any of this makes any sense.
He's given up.
And Ellie is also over it. She collapses, realizing that she is beat.
But as Eleazar is standing up on this cliff, triumphant, surrounded by a couple of zombies and a recently unzombied Hildy, he sees Nashu down there, the woman who gave him the faulty tonic. And he says, "Nice to see you! You better have my Snurble tonic, or I will fashion a wig from the hair I ripped from your head." And Nashu was like, "Oh my god, hi! It's my friend!" So happy to see you too. Amazing. So Briardian walks towards the defeated Ellie. And she says, "You once had something to share with me when this was all over, but I can't imagine you have any words for me now." And he responds, saying, "Ellie, your powers of deduction are wanting. You said that you had lost everything and everyone you had to lose, did you not? As for me, I have found someone, with whom I intend to never part. Whether it takes years or even decades, when she emerges from her jail cell a free woman, he'll be waiting for her." La la la.
Time passes, and Ellie is now in manacles. Still all kitted out, though, in the gear. Godber approaches her, saying, "While your crimes are unpardonable, you are not the only one that is guilty. On behalf of the Syndicate, he apologizes for the false aspersions cast upon Sildee. Godbert will do everything in his power to restore the truth of the traitor's spurn to the fore of Uldan lore." A long moment of silence passes. Everyone reflects on everything that has happened.
Humphrey also practices his gentlemanly flex with his new zombie buddies.
Gilgamesh sees his moment now. He strides forth. "Ahem. Are we not forgetting someone? And by someone, I mean me. The time for our too long delayed confrontation is nigh." He whips out a sword, a gold inlaid blade with a wing-like hilt. Could it be the real treaty blade? Indeed it is. And Greg will only bestow it on the one who can defeat him in single combat. But it will not be single combat this time. Someone asks, "Is that my cue?" And from the heavens swoops in a deep green birdman with a deep red mane of hair. Greg has summoned the primal Enkidu. They will await us at Amdapor Keep. Enkidu takes to the skies, and Greg clutches his taloned foot. This bird can support his weight. They soar into the distance, and Hildibrand gives chase, beseeching us to follow. If we talk to Briardian, Jen, before we leave, he has some words. And with that, my work here is done. For preserving some shred of my sanity, you have my thanks. That said, my experiences here have taught me an important lesson, that this world and the fools who populate it rarely, if ever, abide by the principles of logic. This should serve me well in my future cases. And most importantly of all, I leave here with a vow that has given my life new meaning.
Aww.
Could that be her last vow?
Jesus.
We head for the keep in South Shroud. On arrival, we find Hildibrand planted headfirst in the ground by the entrance. He assures us that he has found a subterranean curiosity that demands his full attention, but he'll be right on after us. And we enter the keep itself. This is the battle in the big keep. Like we mentioned earlier, we reserved our minimum item level playthroughs for the end of the Hildy series because it'd be a lot of work to coordinate a 5-minute trial, so we just did all 3 of them back to back to back. We'll talk about the other 2 trials at min eye level at the back end of the episode, but for now we have the full knowledge of how big keep plays.
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
It's kind of hard.
Kind of hard.
The battle begins in the courtyard outside Amdapor Keep. The first phase of this fight is similar to the other kind of wacky Hildibrand trials. It's mostly chaos. We're fighting both Greg and Enkidu, though we just need to defeat Enkidu to move forward. There's no point to attack Gilgamesh besides keeping aggro on the tank. In this bit, there's a bunch of AoEs, like you do. You can pick up the blue mage spells here, Missile and Eerie Soundwave.
Oh. Oh, this is where you get Missile.
Yeah. During this fight, they will cast Mini on 2 players and tether them. With this tether, you need to run together to break the tether and the debuff. Unlike every other tether in the game, pretty much.
Ugh, so annoying.
These 2, I think it's Enkidu, technically speaking, whatever, they will drop whirlwinds on the ground, persistent whirlwinds. These can be set off by walking in them, otherwise they will swirl for a while. The wiki doesn't say anything about this, but I believe that if you don't set off a whirlwind in a time period, it will explode, doing raid-wide damage.
I think we get turned into little Enkidus, right? We get
Yes.
turned into chickens, and so if you're a chicken, you can run into the whirlwind and neutralize it?
Yes, well, anyone can neutralize a whirlwind by walking into it, but the chickens take no damage.
There you go.
So the chickenified players should be setting off those whirlwinds. If you don't set them off, they seem to explode and deal heavy damage, and we just wiped out of nowhere because of this thing. Eventually, we defeat Enkidu, and Greg retreats into the keep. We give chase. It may seem like he alone is an easy target, but not so. Because, for Gilgamesh, it is transmogrifying time. He sinks into the ground and returns with 8 arms, each wielding a separate weapon, and one hand is empty to make cool ninja signs at us.
Of course, yeah.
The weapons are Riddell, a scimitar from Final Fantasy XI, Haute Claire from 11 also, a katana, anonymous, an axe, possibly bravura, which is from 11 and also is the warrior relic in 14. Some bagnox, a fist weapon, a big spiky mace, possibly a replica of an 11 mace, and finally, the gun halberd thing, which Greg and Hildy have been fighting over. And I learned, Jen, while looking up these weapons, that the gun halberd is a replica of the gun halberd that was wielded by Nail von Darnus.
Oh, shit.
Yes. Goddamn, Jen, I'm glad I looked this up because otherwise...
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's how Hildy got it.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
So it fell from the floating island where the past Warriors of Light battled Nail, and it fell into this guy's pumpkin patch.
Dumb luck indeed.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Anyway, those are the 7 weapons that Gilgamesh is wielding. And now we begin phase 2 of the fight. Unlike the wacky Hildibrand trial so far, this phase feels just like a normal Final Fantasy XIV trial. This has some trial-ass mechanics in it, including our classic intersecting perpendicular ice line mechanic, where they crisscross across the arena, and then they do it again, diagonally shifted by one square.
Gingham, yeah.
He will also summon dragon heads that will float around and drop line AoEs. If you don't kill these heads, they will explode into raid-wide damage. You can probably survive 1 or 2. If you let all of them go off, you're going to die, most likely. So kill some heads. He has a cool looking move called Bloom Shower, which drops a flower petal-like pattern of pink AoEs on the ground. Looks pretty sweet. The only other wrinkle in the fight is his tether mechanic. This one will be a chain between Greg and a random player. If you get chained, move away from Greg to weaken that chain. After the chain solidifies, the player who is chained will be bound in place, and the chain must be destroyed by other players.
Mm-hmm.
Do that and you're good to go. When he's defeated, Gilgamesh once more falls to his knees and swears his misdeeds are over for good. He will hand over the treaty blade, only that he dropped it somewhere nearby and forgot where. So we accept his surrender and leave to go and search for the blade. After we're gone, the chicken Enkidu now waddles up to Gilgamesh, and he rises, exclaiming, Not. Keep the fusty old treaty blade. Gilgamesh thirsts for true power. We had best cling tight to our weapon, for he will be back someday to claim it.
Okay.
Back outside, we find Hildibrand, who has freed himself from his subterranean investigations. And we inform him that we won the battle, but the blade is lost. So Hildy is on the case. He goes off to search for it. Soon, everyone joins us outside Amdapor. Even Ellie. And Cece, who is also manacled.
Yeah, they're still in handcuffs. Or they just, before they even went to the jail, they're like, pit stop at Amdapor Keep.
While Hildy is searching for the relic, the treaty blade, we're all kind of loitering around. And Godbert looks upon the Beladian relics that are still being worn by Ellie. He thinks to himself, he has found inspiration for his next work. Ellie snaps at him. Of course they're inspiration. These are the greatest treasures of lost Sildee. Briardian wonders how she came to know them. Cece says that there was an ancient scroll passed down in their family that spoke of these relics, and an incantation of untold power. But if these two sisters speak it, it has no effect. Only a warrior of light can wield this incantation's true power. Briardian's curious, what is this incantation? And Ellie recites it. The ring casts open the doors of justice. The wise man whispers, a verdict true. Azema's virtue shines down from the heavens. And to complete the incantation, the warrior of light would then hold forth the treaty blade and speak. Blade in hand, I swear unto you. At this point, Hildibrand returns. He has found the missing treaty blade. He thrusts it into the ground beside him, his hand resting on its hilt. He assures us that this time it's the real one. I swear onto you. The sword begins to glow.
Oh, fuck, he said it.
Ellie refuses to believe this. Hildy is not the warrior of light. There's no way the sword would react to him. But the sword gleams again. It erupts into a shining beam of light, blasting the sword and Hildy into the heavens. Ellie remarks, and so the light of justice that shone from the treaty blade banished the shadow, returning peace to the land. Julian grumbles that he's left without giving his mother a kiss goodbye. She gives chase after him, as does Nashu, yelling, Inspector, wait for me. Ellie gets wistful. The magic of the sword is what brought peace and happiness to the people of Belladia. It was as beautiful as she imagined. To see it with her own eyes, a dream come true. And Briardian closes us out. He bumbles and stumbles through yet another case, and still manages to make a girl's dream come true. A gentleman to the end. Bloody bastard. Up in the heavens, Hildy rockets through the sky upon the sword's magic. What's this? A glint in the corner of my eye? A curious scent wafting in on the winds from a far-flung land? Do I smell a case? Worry not for me, friends, for wherever the wronged want for succor, I, Hildibrand, shall be there, till we meet again. And that's the end.
That's it. Till we meet again.
We have 2 postscripts today. The first one is the minimum item level fights, the first 2 trials.
The listeners we had join us for these 3 trials are as follows. We have Sophia Smith as Paladin, Chi Miu as Gunbreaker, Calidus Caddis as Scholar, Ndal Dill as Dragoon, me as Bard, Golden Abbey as Machinist, and Cotton Candy as Dancer. Thank you all so much for joining us.
I was there too, Jen.
Very fun. Obviously, she was there. No, she was there. You were White Mage this time.
Yes.
Oh, that's unique. Thank you for your service.
For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did all 3 of the trials back to back to back on min eye level. These are predictably a lot different around the proper item level versus with the Realm Reborn item sync. So we walk into the first fight, the battle on the big bridge, and almost immediately Calidus gets like destroyed in the first probably 10 seconds, I think. So he got changed to a frog then, and then got like 2-shot by Enkidu.
Pecked him to death.
Yep. The real Hildibrand starts here. Apparently also, after Greg does his I surrender not bit, there's more fight on the first platform.
Yeah.
Which you never see.
Yeah, we're all ready to like, bye. Oh, wait, shit. No, we're not done.
That is super tough because when you get frogged in that fight, you take tons of damage from the chicken. Mm-hmm. And on the next platform, there are like 20 chickens on there.
Oh my God. We were all running around desperately like, no.
Then we, do the fight against the trash enemies on the bridge. We arrive at the second fight against Greg part 2 with the horde of Enkidus on the platform. And this part is super hard. You might recall that he does confusion. Gilgamesh does like these point blank AoE things, untelegraphed AoEs around him. So any non-tanks by him get annihilated. And of course, with confusion, you can't control where you are. So you might get hammered by his like halberd spin just for attacking some other player anyway. We were doing like, okay. And then we had a round of like people getting frogged. I was frogged. And then I think our other healer, Calidus, got killed by something. Gilgamesh does like a halberd spin and takes out like most of the party. So we have maybe like 2-3 people left. They're going down fast, and Gilgamesh has maybe 1% health left. Jen, you were chipping away with your dots and shit, right?
Yep.
While our surviving tank tried their best to sustain themselves before they went down, and we squeaked out the clear with 1 or 2 people standing.
Yep. Yeah, we got our asses handed to us.
Yes,
on that
we did.
one.
So that is min eye level big bridge. Next up is the Dragon's Neck.
Yeah.
Which is the arena fight.
Yeah, so that's our rematch in Halatali.
Yep.
With Ultros and Typhon.
Yep. This one, when a tank gets knocked off by the Typhon sneeze, that boss will then go find other targets. They'll go find like the top DPS or like a healer and go beat on them. They hit for like 1/3 to like 1/2 your health bar.
Oh.
So you are getting wailed on whenever these enemies don't have a tank to beat on.
All right. When I was doing my notes the first time, and I ran this with randos, everybody was stoked to get this fight randomly, and they had a great time. I had less of a great time because it was very confusing. There's so much going on, and if you're focusing on Ultros versus Typhon, or vice versa, you're going to have very different experiences. And so the second time I was like, I'm going to focus on Typhon because I feel like his telegraphs are going to be, and his casts are going to be far more important to keep track of. I feel like that's true, but man, it's like chaos. It reminds me of the King Moggle fight. Just everybody's running around like not knowing what the fuck. Just kill it. That's what it felt like to me.
Cool.
Yeah.
We talked about the big keep in the action, so that is the min eye level recap.
Boom.
Good night. Postscript number 2. One of our Discord members dropped a reminder that we had neglected to profile Gilgamesh in the series at large, so here that is. Gilgamesh is a major recurring character in the Final Fantasy series. Unlike most of the Final Fantasy favorite characters / character names who get reinvented and remixed whenever their namesake appears in a different entry, Gilgamesh feels more or less like the same character that travels between these different worlds in his quest for powerful weapons. Gilgamesh first appeared in Final Fantasy V, though the wiki informs me that he has been backported to some other remakes of the earlier games. His relation to the main characters in every game varies. Sometimes he's a rival, sometimes he's a circumstantial ally, sometimes he is a summon. But his most common theme is a search for weapons of power, and he often appears wielding weapons from other games in the series.
That's fun.
In 11, though, his incarnation is very different than any other Gilgamesh in the series.
I was going to say.
He's just like a normal
guy.
Yeah, he is a semi-retired pirate leader that now keeps things running at the pirate base of Norg.
Lion's dad, right?
Yeah, he looks nothing like Gilgamesh does in other entries. He's just like a gray-haired pirate. His personality is boisterous in 11, but I have a hard time seeing the connection between that Gilgamesh and any other Gilgamesh. Yes. It's kind of like a weird exception to his normal appearance.
Yeah, extremely subdued.
For more about 11's Gilgamesh and 11 in general, check out our Patreon series, Vanadil Vansplainer.
There it is.
Patreon.com/podreturnffxiv.
Yeah, slam it down.
That's it for postscript number 2. Jen, we did Hildibrand.
Boy, did we. That was fun. It's a great story. But goddamn.
But I'm so glad as well to have done them all in short order, because it really does encapsulate how well the whole story ties together. It goes in a perfect circle with the zombies, Zombibrand at the beginning, at the end. Oh
man, like a beautiful sandwich.
Yeah, Eleazar's head. It's really great just how they brought back these dumb details from number 1 into this finale, and it just like it works. It's dumb as shit if you think about it too much, but it works.
It's so amazing. Ellie's ready to sick her entire army of zombie Sildians onto us to start her final act of revenge against the entirety of Ul'dah. And she's like, all right, get 'em, boys. And there's crickets. And she turns around and they're just doing the flex. It's ridiculous. I'm like, we already end. Like, this is ridiculous. This makes no sense, but it makes all the sense. And like this, and then the 2 zombies that are up there with Hildy are the 2 we saw at the beginning of his whole story.
Yeah.
The 2 that were like, hey man, you're one of us now in the graveyard at the Landama. What's it? Adama Landama.
Admiral Adama graveyard.
Every time, yes.
The Church of Saint Adama Landama, or the Lich Yard.
The Lich Yard, yeah. Incredible. That is so satisfying. Loved it. Just, chef's kiss, etc., etc.
Yes.
One thing that I notice is the way Julian is dressed and how her makeup and hair is done. Totally a choice. She's got, it's pretty, it's like tacky, kind of. Like you would see her in a casino in Vegas. Not necessarily, not like a cocktail waitress or something, but really, it's like something Dolly Parton would wear on stage. Maybe just kind of over the top, with the curl skin boots and the bright pink, and her makeup is really overdone. When she's got pigtails. I mean, it was very unexpected, I guess.
Well, Jen, thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you so much for all your hard work.
You're welcome, Jen.
Yeah.
Taking a bit of a break next week with just an easy dungeon.
Yay!
Which is Stone Vigil hard.
I thought it was going to be Stone Vigil easy.
Jen, they are easy.
Not on mid-eye level. Fuck you.
Hey, Jen, how about them deets?
Well, that will do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening and not stealing precious Beladian relics and dooming us all to zombification. Appreciate it. If you want to get in touch with us, you can at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com. If you check the show notes, you'll find our Discord. You can sign up and talk to a lovely group of people, share pictures of your glams, join us for group runs, coordinate group runs of your own, all that good stuff. And we also have our Patreon, patreon.com/podreturnffxiv, where for $1 a month you get access to everything else we publish, including our Final Fantasy XI series, Vanadiel Vansplainer, and all of our seasonal episodes are there as well. So give it a listen. And with that, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a good day or night, and we will see you next time.
Pod Return will return?